If you want to hack a network, you have to learn how to read the map. And in the world of hacking, that map is made entirely of ports. Every time you run an Nmap scan, the screen lights up with numbers like 21, 80, or 445. To a beginner, these are just random digits to memorize for an exam. But to a pro hacker, these aren't numbers. They are stories. They are potential entry points. They tell you exactly what the target is running, how old their system is, and exactly how you are going to break in. Today, we are going to do a deep dive. We are breaking down the 18 most common ports you will see in the wild, and then I'm going to show you why a hacker gets excited when they see them open. We're covering the dinosaurs, the secure tunnels, the mailmen, and the high-value targets that make bug bounty hunters rich. Let's dive in. First up, let's talk about the dinosaurs. These are protocols from a different time, a time when the internet was small, friendly, and nobody thought about security. We call these the glass houses because they send everything in clear text. That means if I'm standing outside your house looking in, I can see everything you're doing. The first one is port 21, the File Transfer Protocol, or FTP. Think of FTP like an old-school courier service. Its only job is to move files from one computer to another. You have a box of documents, which are your files, and you hand them to the courier to deliver. The problem is that the courier shouts your name and password at the top of his lungs when he knocks on the door. FTP sends your login credentials in plain text. It doesn't scramble them. It doesn't hide them. If I am a hacker sitting in a coffee shop on the same Wi-Fi as you, and I run a tool like Wireshark, I can literally read your username and password right out of the air as you type them. So if you see port 21 open on a pen test, check for anonymous login. Often, lazy admins allow anyone to log in with the username anonymous and no password. That's free access to their files. Next is port 23, Telnet. If FTP is a glass house, Telnet is a house with no walls. Telnet was designed to let you control a computer remotely using text commands. It's like a long extension cord for your keyboard. The problem is, it has zero encryption. None. Everything you type, every command, every password, every secret is sent across the wire as raw text. Using Telnet today is like shouting your bank PIN across a crowded stadium. If you scan a network in 2025 and see port 23 open, it's a gift. It usually means you are looking at a very old piece of equipment, like a router from the 90s or an ancient industrial control system. These devices almost never have security patches, meaning they are incredibly easy to exploit. Then there is port 80, HTTP. This is the web. This is the internet as we knew it for 20 years. When you visit a website that starts with HTTP, you are knocking on port 80. It serves you the pictures, the text, and the cat videos. Just like its dinosaur cousins, standard HTTP is unencrypted. If you are buying shoes on an HTTP site and you type in your credit card number, that number travels naked across the internet. Hackers love port 80 for man-in-the-middle attacks. Since the traffic isn't locked, I can intercept the website before it gets to you. I can inject fake login forms, malicious ads, or strip out data. Eventually, the internet woke up and realized, hey, maybe shouting passwords is a bad idea. So they built better, stronger versions of those old protocols. These are the steel doors. They are harder to break, but they aren't impossible. This brings us to port 22, SSH or Secure Shell. This is the big brother of Telnet. It lets you control a computer remotely, just like Telnet, but it wraps the entire connection in a layer of heavy cryptographic armor. Imagine driving your car through a tunnel made of titanium. People can see the tunnel, but they can't see inside your car. So if it's secure, why do hackers target it? Because the tunnel is secure, but the key might be weak. Port 22 is the #1 target for brute force attacks. Hackers use automated bots to try millions of passwords against port 22 every second. If you have a weak password, the steel door doesn't matter. I have the key. Then we have port 443, HTTPS. This is the secure web. Look at your browser address bar right now. See that little padlock icon? That means you are connected to port 443. It uses protocols like SSL or TLS to encrypt the traffic between you and the website. It's like putting your credit card info into a locked briefcase before handing it to the cashier. Attacking port 443 is hard, but we have tricks. We look for expired SSL certificates, which allows us to trick users into trusting a fake site. Or we look for vulnerabilities in the encryption software itself, like the famous Heartbleed bug that let hackers read memory straight out of secure servers. Next up, let's talk about how email works. You hit send and magic happens, right? Wrong. Behind the scenes, 3 specific ports are playing a game of hot potato with your message. First is port 25, SMTP. This is the sender. SMTP is the mail truck that takes your letter from your house to the post office and from post office to post office. It pushes mail out. Hackers love port 25 for user enumeration. See, mail servers are polite. If I connect to a company's SMTP port and ask, hey, does the user admin exist here? The server might reply, yes, that user exists. Boom. I just confirmed a valid username for my attack list without hacking anything. Then there is port 110, POP3. This is the old school receiver. POP3 is like going to your physical PO box, taking all the letters out and bringing them home. Once you download the email to your computer, it deletes it from the server. POP3 is basic and often insecure. If I can intercept the traffic on port 110, I can read your emails. But more importantly, because it downloads everything locally, if I hack your laptop, I get all your past emails too. The modern version is port 143, IMAP. IMAP is like checking your mail on your phone. You are looking at the mail on the server, but you aren't removing it. This syncs your email across all your devices. Just like POP3, older versions of IMAP authenticate in Cleartext. If I can sniff the connection on port 143, I can grab your email login. And once I have your email, I can reset the password for every other account you own. Now we get into the infrastructure, the plumbing of the internet. These are the services that run in the background. You never see them, but if they break, the internet stops working. Hackers love these because nobody pays attention to them. Port 53 is DNS. DNS is the phone book of the internet. Computers don't know what Google.com is. They only know IP addresses. When you type a URL, port 53 translates the name into numbers. This is my favorite trick. It's called DNS tunneling. Most firewalls are set to block everything, except DNS, because you need DNS to browse the web. So, hackers hide their stolen data inside DNS requests. They chop up your credit card numbers and put them into fake website addresses. To the firewall, it just looks like someone looking up a website. In reality, it's data leaking out the front door. Then we have ports 67 and 68, DHCP. This stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Imagine you walk into a party and ask, where do I sit? DHCP is the host who says, you sit at table 5. It assigns your computer an IP address when you join a network. This is vulnerable to a rogue DHCP attack. I can set up my laptop to pretend to be the DHCP server. When your computer joins the Wi-Fi and asks for an IP, I answer first. I tell your computer, here is your IP, and by the way, I am your router. Now, all your internet traffic flows through my laptop before it goes to the real internet. We also have port 123, NTP. This port syncs clocks. That's it. It ensures all computers agree on what time it is. Boring, right? Wrong. NTP is famous for DDoS amplification attacks. Hackers can send a tiny request to an NTP server that says, tell me everything you know. The server responds with a huge amount of data. The trick? The hacker fakes their return address to be the victim's IP, so they send a tiny whisper and the NTP server screams the answer at the victim. Multiply this by 1,000 servers, and you can knock a target offline instantly. Finally, we have the crown jewels. These are the ports that give hackers direct control over systems or access to the most sensitive databases. If these are open to the internet, it's not a vulnerability. It's a catastrophe. Ports 139 and 445 are NetBIOS and SMB. These two work together for file sharing on Windows. Imagine a shared folder on your office network where everyone drops reports. That's SMB on port 445. Port 445 is legendary. It is the single most attacked port in history. Why? Because of Eternal Blue. This was a military-grade exploit stolen from the NSA that allowed hackers to take over Windows computers just by sending a special packet to port 445. This exploit powered the WannaCry ransomware that shut down hospitals across the globe. If I see port 445 open on the internet, I know that server is likely unpatched and ready to be owned. Then there is port 3389, RDP, or Remote Desktop Protocol. This is the ultimate prize. RDP gives you a full graphical interface. It's like sitting in the chair in front of the computer, moving the mouse, clicking icons. Hackers don't even need an exploit for this. They just use credential stuffing. They take a list of 10 million leaked passwords from other breaches and try them all against your RDP port. Once they get in, they turn off your antivirus, download their ransomware, and encrypt your entire business. And lastly, the database ports. Port 1521 is Oracle, port 3306 is MySQL, and port 5432 is PostgreSQL. These are the vaults. These databases hold the user lists, the credit cards, the medical records. These ports should never be facing the internet. They should only talk to the web server locally. If I run an Nmap scan and see port 3306 open to the public, I know the admin messed up. I can try to brute force the database login directly, or I can use an exploit to dump the tables. This is how massive data breaches happen. So there you have it. That is your map. 18 ports that control the internet. When you start learning cybersecurity, don't just memorize B. Port 21 is FTP. That's boring. Memorize the risk. 21, 23, and 80 means sniffing attacks. 445 means ransomware. 3389 means brute force. 53 means data exfiltration. When you scan a target, you are looking for a story. You are looking for the mistake the admin made when they configured the firewall. Your mission for this week? Run an Nmap scan on your own home network. See what ports are open on your router, your TV, your printer. You might be shocked at what you find. If you found this deep dive valuable, do me a favor and smash that like button. It really helps the algorithm find us. And make sure you're subscribed, because next week we are taking this knowledge and applying it to a live target. Thanks for watching. One life, one shot, make it count.